I am going to figure this out or I'm going to close the business down.
He gets so excited.
And you realize our net worth is over $1 million.
His business name was going to be Laundromat Millionaire. I was like, no.
Elevate the industry. If you want it bad enough, nothing will stop you. Right around the time that we cracked that code and stopped hemorrhaging money, we had paid off a lot of our debt. And our businesses, all of our businesses, every revenue stream we had was at its highest level ever. We were experiencing record growth in pretty much everything year over year. And so once we stopped hemorrhaging money from our pickup and delivery business and started making money, substantial money, we started looking at how to grow the business some more. And what ended up happening is we ended up applying for a business loan. And as we're filling out our financial paperwork, we look down and we realize our net worth is over $1 million. And we're like,
wow,
wait, what? Because I remember our first SBA loan that we applied for that first laundromat, our net worth was roughly $60,000. And like 45,000 of that was my 401k. But our entire net worth when we bought that first laundromat was $65,000. And we've described the sacrifices we've made, the risk that we've taken. But we woke up one day and it was never even a goal to be quote unquote a millionaire. And quite frankly, never even dreamed it was possible. These are laundromats. I mean, they're little one quarter at a time. And we just woke up one day and I'll never forget looking at the paperwork. I looked at her. I was like, do you realize we are millionaires? She's like, what?
It's like, I don't feel like a millionaire.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, I thought that.
I should feel like I have money. And
right.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously the substantial, the majority of our wealth we didn't have $1 million in the bank. It was liquid. It was all tied up in assets and home equity and things like that. But that's really where we kind of had this sort of epiphany, and it didn't change anything in our life. It was just like, wow, I never would have thought I would be a millionaire. Like I didn't even go to college. I barely graduated from high school. How did I stumble, work my tail off for 8 or 9 years and end up being a millionaire? It's just bizarre. And then shortly after that, I ended up being on a few podcasts that kind of reached out to some people, and you were one of them. And you invited us onto the Laundromat Resource podcast and gave me the opportunity to kind of tell my story, which my intention was behind that wasn't to brag. It was just to inspire people and to point out to the laundromat industry that this industry can change your life and it can change your family tree. It's not just I can make a little bit of money. And so that was my incentive behind that. And it wasn't on your podcast, but it was on another podcast that I was on telling my story, trying to inspire people. And they referred to me as the Laundromat Millionaire. And I was just like, wait, what? It was true, but I was like, wait, I mean, I knew I was a millionaire, but I mean, I never told anybody that. I wasn't going to ever tell anybody that. It was just this bizarre situation where I thought about it over the next few days, and they released this podcast, and I had started getting all these inspiring messages from people and things like that. And I felt like I had to make this decision of, do I run from this nickname, which is not a humble nickname? Like it makes you sound very egotistical and flashy, and which I'm not that way, but she's definitely like,
oh my gosh,
she was mortified.
Him telling me he was going to start this YouTube channel and and this consulting stuff and his business name was going to be Laundromat Millionaire. I was like, no.
You're going to pick any other name on the planet.
Seriously?
You're not going to use that
That's
name.
what you want to go with? That's kind of like braggy. Mm-hmm. And I was embarrassed for people to know that was his name. His brand.
She's being nice. She was not embarrassed. She was mortified. And she frankly still is mortified. But I'm a business person. That's just how my brain works. And when they referred to me as that, I just I felt like I had to make a decision. Okay, I'm going to run from this, or I'm going to embrace it. And I'm going to embrace it, not look at me, puff my chest out, look how great I am. I had realized through your podcast and through this other one that I got just an insane amount of messages from people telling me how inspiring my story was and how they had given up on their dreams. And my podcast had literally just given them the incentive to pick themselves back up and start to chase their dream again. And some people had not given up on their dream. They just hadn't accomplished it. And they talked about how motivating it was and how inspiring it was. And I had never really seen myself as that kind of a person, this public figure or whatever. But all I knew is that if telling my story and my journey of poverty to being quote unquote a millionaire, if it inspired 5 people, I was willing to take the heat, the braggadociousness of a brand like Laundromat Millionaire. I just made up that word, by the way. I told you I didn't go to college. But anyway.
Like you're a Laundromat Millionaire, you just feel like you can make up words now.
Yes, I know.
Say whatever you want. But I just decided that, you know what, I knew I would take some heat, and I knew that even my wife wasn't super comfortable with it. But I knew I had a choice. I could run from it and never bring it up again and pretend like it was never said, or I could embrace it. You know, I don't claim to be a marketing expert, but I've learned a lot about marketing and business over the years. And one of the things I learned is that, you know, you've got to get people's attention. If you've got a story to tell and a vision and a brand to build, you have to get people's attention. And there's many ways to do that. But this was a nickname, for lack of a better term, that had been given to me by somebody that, you know, I respected, that was a business owner themselves. And I decided to embrace it. And the reason I decided to embrace it, despite the hate I knew I would get, including from my wife, the reason I decided to embrace it was because ultimately I was more interested in inspiring others to chase their dreams and not give up on their dreams. And if they have given up on their dreams, to dust themselves off, give back up. And I'm a firm believer, if you're still alive and you've given up on whatever your dream is, whether it's business ownership or something else, that's an active decision. You're deciding every minute of every day to give up. It's not a past tense. You haven't given up. You are choosing to give up. And so I decided that I was going to embrace that. And I started a consulting company, which is under the Laundromat Millionaire brand. And I do a lot of consulting, and I teach people about the laundromat industry. A lot of people that are new coming into the industry, try to help them avoid a lot of the common mistakes that happen when you come into the industry.